For this assignment, we have selected the issue of the acceptance of homosexuality to use as the basis for developing a teaching episode that explicates the ideas of difference and dominance. Before getting too far into this discussion, we need to understand that the definition of a homosexual. As defined by Oxford Dictionaries, a homosexual is a person who is sexually attracted to people of their own sex. Therefore, to be accepting of homosexuals, you have to accept that they are attracted to those of their own sex. Accepting homosexuality is an issue in today's society that has been for centuries. Some say since the creation of man and woman, as it was believed only natural that a person was attracted to the other sex and not to a person of the same sex. Homosexuals have always made up the minority in society and therefore were considered to be the ones who were different. Therefore, they were discriminated against and made outcasts at the least. It is still the case today that homosexuals make up the minority of society, but nowadays homosexuals have become more open about their sexuality and free to express it in events such as the Mardi Gras, and society has become very accepting of different people's sexuality and celebrations. Hall believes that there are two possible views when looking at cultural identities. In this case, the cultural identity we are looking at is homosexuals. You can look at the continuity of the cultural identity, its history and geography, or you can view it as having certain similarities with other cultures, but also very deep differences. When looking at homosexuality and its acceptance, we find that society more commonly looks at these people with a second view. Society looks more so at the differences and discriminates homosexuals because of it. Lefebvre argued that space is socially created. Every society produces a space which can be seen and understood as its own space. Therefore, when another group, homosexuals, produce their own space, differences become apparent between groups and issues arise. Just like the acceptance of homosexuality, usually resulting in the minority group being discriminated against. Bauer supports Lefebvre's concept of producing space when he says, gay people share not only sexual orientation, but culture, a community, and a common identity. The way in which he describes homosexuals as culture, community, and common identity means that the homosexuals have their own space that is seen and understood to be theirs.
That's good points you have there, Kelsie. But to follow that on, we need to have this in the classroom as well. So this is our view on how we can incorporate it into the classroom. Homosexuality today is more easily understood and accepted in our society today than it was 10 years ago. This has meant that it isn't a subject hidden by many students and has meant that many students are open about their sexuality. However, when it comes to addressing and teaching this as an educator, how can we approach gay sexuality successfully? Addressing this issue can be difficult and extremely delicate. It's important as a teacher to seek advice from higher sources, such as principals, counsellors, and associations, for example, gay rights. As it's highly important to have the correct information and knowledge before addressing this very opinionated topic of homosexuality, otherwise negative opinions can be created within the classroom. Negatively that can be created if gone about the wrong way could be bullying towards a homophobic students. For example, such comments could be, "Keep away, Kufta. Here he comes, backs against the wall." These two comments aren't very friendly, but are well-known comments within the school environment towards these students. As educators, we hope to eliminate such comments through successful teachings of homosexuality. This situation of homosexuality acceptance is becoming a read about success worldwide. It's only in the last years and months that acceptance of marriage of the same sex has been customary. It's today's generations that we as educators need to take this view on and help other homophobic students feel accepted in the classroom, as it's their identity as well, and they also should feel no different to any other student. However, how can we prevent and encourage acceptance of homosexuality into the new generation?
Obviously, it's going to be needed to be educated through classrooms and the curriculum. Although punishment is a blunt option for creating understanding, it isn't the ideal approach. A better option would be the teaching within curriculum, class lessons. However, when teaching within curriculum, the teacher needs to be sensitive to age appropriation, emotional development of pupils and families and schools' cultural practices and religious beliefs. Ideally, it should be included appropriately within subjects. These subjects, according to Andrew, could be as followed: health education, sex education, personal and social education, English, history, media studies, modern studies, religious and moral education, all in which could have aspects of homosexuality incorporated within each subject. The idea of including homophobic knowledge is to create discussion and allow students to develop skills, values, and knowledge which they need for understanding of others' identity and beliefs. Without discussion, no knowledge will be created or remembered, so then nothing will be applied within such situations of homosexuality events or encounters. During these classes, it would be important to engage majority of the students. Set a theme about homosexuality for a term would be a starting point. The notions of difference. From here onwards, start all subjects regarding homosexuality with open-ended questions. This would encourage many answers, as there is no right or wrong answer with open-ended questions. Once open-ended questions such as what are your views on homosexuality? Do you believe that they should be accepted? What do you think it isn't accepted by all? Are asked, students may become more comfortable talking about the issue. From these questions, your answers from the students should be causing some diversity in the discussion. By incorporating diversity from the students' views upon homosexuality, different beliefs and opinions will be sourced. This will allow you, as the educator, to go forward from here and know where you need to start with the students.
Saying there isn't much diversity, and like many people in today's generation accept or are aware of homosexuality, set a research task and individual tasks. Starting with the individual task, have them write down on a piece of paper what makes a homophobic person in their view. Have them keep this private. Now place the students in groups of 4. Have them research media and homosexuality and how homosexuality is portrayed in the movies, television episodes and magazines. Now have the students look into such movies as Brokeback Mountain, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or singers such as Elton John, and even television episodes such as How I Met Your Mother, where Barney plays a role of a straight man, but in real life he is gay. Have them write down how homophobic men were portrayed and represented in these movies, and how the views of the director has influenced it. Following on from the media, refer back to your own classroom. Bring the issue closer to home. Have the students at their own desks with an A4 size piece of paper in front of them. Have the students draw what their family looks like. This may be straight couple partners, single parents, gay parents, or even grandparents. Once all the drawings are completed, ask them to share and compare each family and explain to one another how their family works. For example, dad works away, mum stays at home. Some students may even compare and explain that they have 2 dads or 2 mums and their family still works the same. Now have the students return back to their seats and write down what they've learnt from the other students in their classroom regarding family order and sexuality within their households. At this moment, wait for the students to settle back down and ask them this question: why do we generally consider straight parents to be the norm? Wait for hands and seek opinions from at least 6 or more students. Following on from this question, have them write down the norm way of life in a household, and if they think a homophobic family could do the same. Finishing off the individual task with a reflection, what have they learnt? Have the students write down their views and opinions about homosexuality and what they may do or how they may treat someone if they were or knew of someone who was homophobic. Leave it at that for now. Come back to the concept once a week or as a class group and discuss anything new that the students had found or experienced from being more aware of homosexuality. Perhaps even approach higher sources such as a library and see if there are any textbooks that include homosexual couples, as a maths book, for example, could incorporate a homosexual couple purchasing their first home, and the students may need to work out what savings need to be prior, etc. This would help the students make connections that being homosexual doesn't make you any different. It's still very important during these stages that early setup of curriculum to be very open and helpful to the students. You don't want to start your theme or concept of the term on a negative approach, especially such an opinionated subject. In conclusion, there are many different ways that homosexuality can be approached and taught within our educational curriculum. Although remembering that it is a very touchy subject, still yet to be accepted by all, careful consideration into teaching will be essential. Otherwise, failure and misunderstanding by students could be incorporated, which would be detrimental to the new generation's understanding and acceptance of homosexuality.